You good?
Let's go ahead and call to order. And Mr. Treasurer, prepared to call the roll.
President Baker?
Present.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Vice President Cole?
Present.
Ms. Gibbs?
Here.
Ms. Hudson?
Here.
Mr. Freddie?
Here.
Ms. Reyes?
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you. And if no one objects, we can dispense with the pledge. Is there a motion that we adopt this agenda as it's presented here?
So moved.
Moved and
Second.
seconded. Mr. Treasurer?
President Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Vice President Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Gibbs?
Yes.
Ms. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Freddie?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. All right, thank you all for being here tonight. You know why we're here. We have Dr. Bill Reimer with us. So I think what I'd like to do briefly is just follow up a little bit on our discussion from last night, since Professor Freilich is still on his way in. As you know, we talked about and decided a few things last night. One of them was that a subcommittee of us would work with responses to the request for outside legal counsel that will be submitted to the Treasurer's office by close of business Friday. And then they will present to us on the 15th their 3 recommendations and have 3 people from those firms here for us to meet with. And I sent an email sort of documenting that today to the subcommittee. We also talked about starting on an updated RFP that Dr. Reimer would work on in conjunction with board members Peretti and Gibbs, and so I sent an email today documenting that with the requested documents that everybody needed for both purposes. So I think those were the sort of decision points we had yesterday, and I followed up on those. I just wanted you to know that I had done that. And the other thing, of course, that we talked about yesterday was selection of the mediator. And so Dr. Reimer is here and Professor Freilich is here. So, Bill?
Yeah, where we left it after the meeting last time was that you had suggested that that they give consideration to whether or not both of them would be willing to share that position and work at that. And they talked about that at length yesterday, and in fact, we talked about it again this morning, the 3 of us over the phone. And they really concluded that, and I'll let Dr. Freilich speak for herself about it, but both of them said that they really felt it would be better if one was doing it, because when they really start getting down to the specifics of what might happen, like a discussion at this meeting tonight, and being part of that and getting the feel for that and getting the feel for the group and where everybody was, and then all of a sudden a week later coming back, but it'd be a different person, even if they communicated well with each other, something's left in communication, as opposed to being part of the conversation. And so they really determined we probably should just go with one, that they would recommend that you just go with one. And then it just narrowed down to who was most available, I think. They were very pleased that you thought they both were excellent and that they could do a great job for you. And that made them feel, of course, very good, very positive. But Mr. Freilich has more time, particularly during this summer, now and during the summer. Now, that's not to say that he can make every single one of the 5 meetings that you laid out, because I hadn't told him that ahead of time. So one of the meetings he would have difficulty making, but he is much more available, will be much more available to you in the summer than Joel would have been, and so we really just decided we were going to recommend him to you. So,
Any objections?
and you're prepared to tell him how you feel about it. I don't want to speak for him.
I'll just say that doctor is a strong word, and I am not a doctor.
Okay.
But I appreciate all of your time and consideration again this evening. I know that the one date you referenced that I'm teaching a mediation course in California, and so I cannot be with you on May 22nd.
That would make it difficult.
Right, it would make it difficult. So that's an issue that we'll have to work through, but I appreciate your patience with me on that, and I'm excited about the opportunity.
Perfect.
That's great.
Very good. If there's no objection,
Nope.
None.
then Professor Fralick, you are our mediator.
Yay,
Thank
terrific.
you.
Congratulations.
Now, and I wrote bills, so I have to say Dr. Reimer and Professor Fralick. Yes, Mr. Gregg.
So while we're here having a discussion, as we talk about our RFP for the search, I wanted to set a date with Ms. Gibbs and Bill, maybe to have a conference call as soon as possible so we can look over the information.
Exactly.
What sort of, what we're thinking, and then relate that to Bill, and then maybe ask Bill to also come up with some other folks that could do this, you know, how we're casting our net, on search firms.
Can we put a pin in that just for a sec? I don't know if, Bill, you had anything else, or Professor Fralick, you had anything else to say about the role of mediator?
I think that was, there were some concerns about the role of mediator, and again, I'll let Bill speak for himself, but I have some feelings about that too. But we think it can all work out just because of things that you've said and done the last couple times we've been together, so. You want to start that?
Sure. I just looking at the paragraph in the resolution about the idea and reading it, both a mediator knowledgeable and skilled in both dispute resolution and sunshine laws to work with the board to facilitate communications among the board members and with the search firm to conduct the new search, including coordination process. And thereafter, the concern that I have is working with search firms. I'm happy to support you all in conversations. My experience with search firms, I want to be as transparent as possible, is at 0. So my ability to facilitate and guide you through moving a search firm forward, I don't think is something that you were looking for because it's unknown. So Bill and I have discussed how this might work a little bit to move forward, but I think my role as I view it is to support the 7 of you in having more constructive conversations. And hopefully that's something I can help you with. Bill, did you want to follow up with that?
Yeah, and because of our experiences at ESC with, frankly, searches and working with search firms, we have a lot of experience with that. So I think it would be a natural for either myself or George Tombaugh to be able to step in and be of some real assistance, some guidance there. The issue, though, is just we wanted to be straightforward about that because it's a little bit of a twist on your what you passed in your resolution, and so that's why we wanted to bring that up.
So what I hear you suggesting is that you, Dr. Reimer, would be doing the coordination that we as a board assigned to the mediator around search firm, coordination, selection, and so on. You would do those things.
Yeah, I'd be comfortable doing that if you want me to do that, and that would free up Bill to be able to really concentrate on mediation.
And the mediation piece.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are there objections?
I think it makes sense.
No,
I'm fine with it.
I'm fine with it.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right, so that's
Okay.
duly noted. I'll make a note of that. Yes, Ms. Gibbs.
And when we make a note of, would you feel comfortable we made a note of it and wrote it out clearly again so that when we come back for a reminder, just so that we're clear, because we'll have to explain this one more time to the search firm. So I think maybe just laying out an agreement or.
Yes, ma'am.
Perhaps, maybe to that end, when the subcommittee is working on the RFP for the search firm, there could be just clarify in the RFP the method of communication. And then as we look at that, we could confirm that everybody's on the same page.
That's a great
I'll do
idea.
that.
That would fit right in with what we have to do.
And we'll make sure that that's
I'll
in
do
the
that.
RFP.
That makes
Okay.
sense.
Right.
Super.
Ta-da.
Through you.
Got it.
Do it.
That makes
Make it so.
That's perfect.
Yeah, and
Number
Bill,
2.
I'll come over and we'll make sure. And when we're in a group call, we'll do that. But to your point about the words and the roles, and I think as the seats fill in, it'll be even
Yeah, but
better.
you
Right,
raise a
good.
great point. I think that's important.
Because we're saying that next week we'll have 3 different interpretations on paper. Just can't say.
Okay, do we, that's great. Do we believe that concludes our discussion on the mediator? Is there
Well-
anything else we need to say about me?
I do want to, I want to ask that, because we thought you were such a very important role to our discussion, you won't be here on the 22nd. Do we feel comfortable moving forward on the 22nd? Do we know what we're talking about on the 22nd?
We don't know, we don't even know where we're at.
know
yet. I mean, our next gathering would be.
It's the 15th.
So I guess to that point, I'd ask, what do you suggest, where, like, for us to think about, or how would you start us out so we kind of know?
Thank you for the question. I would love to start with all of you simply by meeting with each of you in person for a short meeting. We don't know each other in this room, and if I'm going to be useful in this conversation, I need to develop, or try to develop, a relationship where we can trust one another individually, so we can build more trust in this group. And I'd like to set up those meetings in the by next Friday, so I can meet with everyone in this group individually and in person. Following that, and what I'd like you to think about in advance of those meetings is what some of the opportunities are of this search process. What are the opportunities for selecting the right leader for this school district, and what are some of the hurdles to making that selection? And if we can begin to talk about those two ideas in these individual meetings, as well as I can get to know you just a little bit, I think that would be a great starting point. And so you all know, I've set up a email account specifically for this process. It's 614mediator@gmail.com. So correspondence from me will be coming from that address
The entire city
exclusively.
now.
So we don't say spam. Spam.
Okay.
Gmail.
At gmail.com.
And Dr. Reimer can provide you with all of our contact information, so you can reach out and try to set those meetings. I think that's a great idea.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
So based on that, can you remind us of the 15th meeting, what we're supposed to accomplish, and then the 22nd, what we're scheduled to do?
So we didn't lay a whole lot of that out. We definitely know on the 15th, we're going to see the 3 firms that maybe are outside
that's
counsel.
legal.
We haven't talked a whole lot more about what each one of these meetings is going to consist of. I think we'll just sort of, as we go along, we'll know things we want to accomplish, and it should be apparent to us what these meetings are going to be used for.
Well, it seems like it'll be apparent, but if we don't have a plan for them.
Well, I mean,
It
just
isn't
thinking
good.
through it right now, Sean, I would think that, that we would be able to look at our legal counsel folks on the 15th, and that's going to take up a good portion of the evening.
No, I'm saying, but I got that on the 15th.
I know.
That was on the 15th.
Yeah,
But the 22nd,
Maybe
if
we do the
he's,
search firm process. You and I have to get our RFP out.
oh, you want to go over
And the
that?
15th, we,
Yes, ma'am.
Hold on, let me just
Oh,
finish.
sorry.
I know that on the 15th, we're doing legal. But on the 22nd, our mediator that we wanted in the room for us to even to start discussing it won't be here. So I just want to make sure I understand when and where you enter and at what point, because we wanted you to be with us during the entire process. I'm just saying, do we need to look at and just start the entire process? We're going to be working, and we'll have paperwork, and that'll be an email train from us going back and forth about the RFP, but that's not very big. But I guess I'm wondering if we want him here at the beginning of the discussion, how does that look? And even though, now, we can't give up dates, because if we give up dates on the calendar, we can't find them again. So I just want to make sure, though, and maybe we don't have a plan for him now, but I feel better knowing, because the 22nd, if he's not here, how are we going to constructively use that time? Because when he comes back, I'm sure, I'm looking forward to it.
I think, Sean, it depends on all the deadlines you're setting for when do you want to be done with the RFP, when do you want to discuss the RFP process. I think that's what some people are saying, that's why we're rolling with it. I think you're going to get more concrete, again, once you start getting information. So when are you going to be done with the RFP, and when is it going to be written? Is it going to be ready and prepared so we can talk on the 15th about it? Or is it ready to be presented for us to talk about it on the 25th? Even if you get it ready, that's just the RFP process, and then you have to send it out. So, and then for him not being here on the 25th, this is being
22nd.
recorded live, or 22nd, it's recorded live, missing one meeting. when we're still at the process of moving the process along, I don't think it's gonna be detrimental
You can definitely
to
watch
our
the
dis-
meeting. That's
You
a
can
good
watch
point.
the meeting.
And I,
So is there any way the RFP, you guys could have a draft on the fit, so we have legal, but we have a draft and
Yes.
we work through both?
Yes.
I don't think the legal, I mean, I think, well, that'll take a little bit of time, but I think we could do both.
and my question
Yes,
is,
I agree.
and I feel comfortable saying the 22nd, we can talk through it even more. 15th is gonna be a long meeting, it's the second fight, I mean, it's gonna be a pretty long meeting, so I'm okay with the 22nd. I just wanted to make sure, just in the spirit of us, moving in this direction, that we feel okay, that we can have a conversation and wait for you to get back at the next meeting. But I feel comfortable that we could get it done.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Dr.
I think on the
Reimer has a
22nd we can
comment
talk
too, and then we'll
dates.
go to Mr.
Time
Brown.
frames.
I don't want to be, step out of my role, but George and I would be happy to volunteer to lay out at least the beginnings of a calendar of how we think this could all proceed, and because we know what all
Yeah.
the steps are that have to
Very
take place.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea.
That'd be great.
And we
One
could
is-
even, I
And
think
we
we
can
could do
discuss
that even with knowing that you've already done so much work that's sitting right here that you absolutely don't want to do over.
Yes.
And you
Right.
shouldn't do over.
Right.
And I think I could come back before the 15th, I could come back with something in writing from us just saying, look, this is how we think this could play out and how long it might take, and we think a really good search firm could make it happen.
Can we use that for the 22nd meeting, and that'd be perfect? Because we can knock out legal on the
Right.
15th, and we'll have the RFP done, and we could talk calendar on the 22nd, and when you get back, we'll be ready to rock.
Well, I would try to rough something like that out within the next week or two and just shoot it to you.
We can all.
So for you to
Yeah, we can
at
have
least-
it and look at
So you
it.
can at least start looking at it, and then we can talk
Right.
about it whenever
Yep.
you want.
Okay.
Great.
Yep,
Now, there's one other.
Maybe
I'm
we can
sorry.
talk about it the 15th even, if we're lucky.
that's not.
15th's gonna be busy.
15th's gonna be
Okay.
busy.
Mr. Brown?
All I was going to say is that, the 22nd is one date that we currently know of. We've not set dates beyond the 5 meetings.
We have to do
There
that.
may be others that come up in conflict, and I think we all know and can agree that, if at one of the meetings that we don't have a mediator, and we come across an issue that we're in, hold off until,
Parking lot.
we can do that. We can all agree to do that.
Flexibility.
Can we agree to do that?
And there's probably other things we can get back. There's a lot on the agenda. There's plenty of work to do.
Let's get back to the RFP, because there's one thing we didn't decide yesterday, as you recall.
Oh.
We didn't decide if we should continue with HYA or if we should issue an RFP. We went ahead and started the process just in case. We didn't actually make that decision.
I think our decision was to put an RFP that they would be willing to
Respond.
respond to.
Yeah.
Is everybody okay with that?
And I thought we also had decided that when we had council on board, then we would get further advice on
Yes.
that. And
Right.
so I don't
Yes.
think we decided one way or the other with HYA was that we would move forward as we, with
Because either
the
way,
subcommittee.
if we decide to go with them, they would still need to provide a plan on how they would do things differently. So either way, they're still responding to an
So
RFP.
maybe with the RFP, I would say in drafting the RFP, I would not be concerned about tailoring it for them.
No.
And we have council on board, I think we would ask council, do we tailor it for them? Do we ask them for something? Because I would think, like, they've already responded, and it's really about, them remediating what they already did.
So let me
And
ask-
that's a different ask than RFP.
So let me ask this about timelines then. So we want to have our independent legal counsel then in place before we make the decision then on our search firm, essentially?
And we will.
We'll do that, and we will.
I just want, so it would be like a 1-2 thing, a one step with legal counsel, and then, do you see it happen at the same time? Is it, the next week?
It could be concurrent because that's one conversation that they're having with one particular company, but the RFP is going to go out to the broader community, and they can begin, that's no easy task for them to put together those binders and what we're asking for. And quite frankly, all of them are watching, and they're all watching us. They all know what's happening, so we don't need to recreate the wheel, as you say, but we want to, clarify.
So let's then
our piece.
schedule a time right now, since we're sitting here, Bill, that we could take our time to look at
But
this.
everybody else doesn't
Everybody
have to wait.
We're gonna do that right after the meeting.
Yeah, you can do that
But we don't wanna
offline.
hold
Yeah,
that, we can adjourn to
But
do
by the
that.
22nd, the other thing we can do is if we've got the RFP done, council could have looked at that. We can meet with them on the 22nd. They can advise us on their thoughts
And you
on
can
all
go
this,
out.
and we can talk about the HYA issue with them, because they would have had time to digest all of what
And then
happened,
you
where we went with them so far
You can
in that
release it.
relationship.
And they may want
And
to.
then we get that RFP out the door,
Maybe on the
right, and-
22nd.
Right, and they may want to, and if I was them,
if we can.
to your point, sit down and say, let's have a conversation. So we are meeting a deadline for the first draft of the RFP. And after legal counsel, I mean, they may want to have a conversation with us to learn more. And so I think it's a good schedule.
I mean, yeah, we
We're
have a
still
meeting the 15th,
ahead.
we're working towards the RFP, hopefully have independent legal counsel picked by then. They get the current copy of the RFP for the search. We let them have that time to digest that, move towards the 22nd, have the final discussion, pull the trigger on the RFP to go out to the search firms.
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
Just one final thing, in that kind of between the 15th and 22nd, and for the professor, I don't know when you go to California, but I think it would be good for maybe the professor and Bill to also meet with council to just kind of touch base and connect, so that as we move forward, they have an idea of touch points for asking for advice, so we just have that extra backup for us.
Sure. Yes, and Bill, as you email the board documents, can you just always make sure you include the mediator? Just so he can be kept in the loop on any documents we
Yep.
have?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Mr. Brown?
With our timetable on legal counsel, and we'll presumably be able to select on the 15th and get them started, and they'll be able to give us some advice on the 22nd. We should probably get together a package and just a list of what it is we want them to focus on initially. Package being things like the Hazard Young contract and the previous RFP. And then we're going to have the new RFP. But I think for them to be able to advise us with respect to HYA, we should probably have some things. I don't mean all the correspondence.
Right.
But at least those
Is that
basic.
something that the subcommittee can communicate to those three finalists? So they sort of know that in advance? Is that where you see that happening?
No, they would get that? Oh, no,
No,
it'd be
no.
like once we select.
Once we select.
And
Once we select,
I think that's, it's just about.
But it's just a
Yeah, it's
matter
about
of,
communicating.
as soon as we,
Okay.
yeah.
That should be simple. Good. Yes, ma'am.
Just for clarification, you mentioned something in your conversation yesterday about your role as a mediator and confidentiality. Can you share that point again around?
And in fact, the media asked about the exemption.
Yeah, they did.
And one of the questions was, are you hiring a mediator because there's some sort of exemption that allows you to meet privately? So could you talk to us a little bit more about that?
Well, that's kind of cool.
That's,
Yeah, so my understanding, and I'm not providing advice to the board, but is 2710, it's called the Uniform Mediation Act here in Ohio. It talks about privilege primarily, and talks about the different types of privilege. And parties to a mediation hold a privilege, and so does a mediator. But an exception to that privilege is 14943, which, as I understand it, is the Open Meetings Act. So, or Public Records Act. Sorry, I have to look at the statute again. But that is an exception to the privilege. So the privilege is essentially privacy of conversations. But if there's an exception to that, then that privilege doesn't exist, right?
But for example,
Yes.
If Ms. Gibbs and I don't agree on something, and you take us out, you
Behind the
have
woodshed.
talked to us separately,
Absolutely.
and then bring us back, you don't have to share what I said to you, or what she said to you, or
Private
to
conversations.
either of us, or to any of us. Is that, would
Absolutely.
that
So
be?
in our conversations in the next 10 days,
Right.
I'll keep those private between the two of us unless you give me the authority to share information from those conversations. I anticipate that you'll probably give me some authority to share information, but I want to make sure that you understand that those individual conversations are private.
I just don't want you to tell the Florida school board to, you know, tell you what Columbus did, you know, that's just.
And my commitment to all of you is that I will hold our conversations as private in this process as much as I can, because I want to ensure that we can develop in our conversations trust between us. And if you can't trust me to keep my mouth closed about conversations we're having, then I'm not sure I'll be very effective.
One-on-one conversations.
I have a question. So,
Yes, Ms.
Mary Jo,
Randall.
so when the legal firms come and present, is that typical like anything else? Just like the mediators came and presented and HYA came and presented?
Yeah.
Are they they're fine with the whole media glory?
They wouldn't be privileged because they wouldn't be representing us. So they're gonna tell us about their experience. I mean, per the,
So just
you know, the
interview.
questions, and I think our questions follow a rubric, they'll easily slide. We've talked already a little bit, we can put that in a rubric, but I think it's basically, what's your experience?
Got it.
Who's on the team? Who's gonna be, you know, who's available? Because we want folks that are available, you know, like if they have offices in other cities and the education folks are in Cleveland, probably won't work, because we, you know, like, you know, but we'll find that out. And then, are they here? Are they available? Because they're more the folks that are gonna be on call, available for our meetings, et cetera. And then, how will they staff that? Certainly, there's some other questions about, like, do they do anything adverse to the district? Are they suing the district directly or something like
Put that first.
And then, well, they probably won't make the cut, but, and then, you know, there's
So
some.
like a true interview.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I would,
So I
I think we
think-
should keep it, we shouldn't
Short.
do it.
Brief.
Yeah, and the reason I
Blanket.
asked that is because you posed a question about confidentiality and things like that. The reason we're getting a legal firm is to ensure that we do what we need to do
Yes.
and not violate sunshine law.
In
So I think
executive
session. Yes.
in those senses, once they're on board, that should be
Yeah,
alleviated.
so I'll just clarify, like, once we select, that firm will send the board an engagement letter that I would assume President Baker would sign on our behalf, and then that, they would represent the board.
Correct. Got it.
Okay.
And we worked that out with Larry in terms of the mechanics for payment. But they would also, and that would just, and they would also discuss, you know, their proposal would discuss the compensation. So whether we have them present that part or the subcommittee throws it out, we can put that out there.
Eric Brown, you've been very patient. And that's not like you. Go on.
Maybe it's just a patient day. I was gonna say that if they're not, we should probably give some thought to media approaching our mediator for a comment. Scott may have some thoughts on that, I'm sure you do. And it may be, you know, to make it simple, one answer would be, well, there's never any media comment whatsoever. But there may be times that we're, you know, that it makes some sense. And I think we should, at least, you know, you should be prepared.
Certainly.
And we should be on the same page about that. Less likely that the media would go to our independent legal counsel, I think. But, you know, mediator is different.
Right, yes, sir.
Good catch.
Just
Professor
as a
Frederick.
matter of practice, for me moving forward, my comment will be no comment.
Perfect.
Unless it's a general question about the mediation process generally, to which I can say something about the mediation process.
Or you could say no comment.
Perfect.
All right.
So-
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry,
Did you
I'm on
forget?
to the 15th and about the legal piece, but I want to make sure, because we're jumping all over, but I just want to, I'm trying to stay on track.
I'm making sure.
Okay, but to the point of the process, they're going to present, and then Are we gonna take a 5-minute recess to think about it and then come back and decide who they are? Are we just gonna hear from the 3 law firms and then go, okay, we're not taking a vote, and then do it? I just wanna make sure I
That whole
know.
voting process is uncomfortable
Yeah,
to
that
talk
part is-
about.
Do you anticipate like a rubric or something based
So,
on the questions in the letter?
based on our early conversation yesterday, one of the things that I recommended was that we develop a set of questions that we then design some sort of qualitative and quantitative aspect to. So the quantitative would be, how did we get in trouble? We didn't get in trouble. What do you?
Be more specific.
Keep on, let me let you finish your statement because
Okay.
because I'm hoping you're not gonna say based on a score, we're gonna pick our legal person. Because I didn't like that process, how we ended up with a search firm last time.
That would-
I wanted
and
discussion.
That's duly noted. If you feel like we need to have a discussion and send us some finer points as to what you'd like to see us discuss, again, I think that in our preliminary conversation, we've identified several categories. Years of experience, relational experience. Again, the other subjective things around legalities in relationship to us, quite possibly or not. Do you have a client who's suing us, or are you suing us directly? The
No, so
geographic-
I'm not questioning the questions, what I
Okay.
question is like,
Scoring it.
having the discussion, because like last time we said, these are the people, this is their attributes, here's a rubric, somebody counted the scores, and then we said, this is the winner.
Well-
That's not.
So tell us what you
So
want
I
to
would,
do.
I would
Yeah.
prefer, because
Yeah.
I think this is something we've discussed before, I've mentioned before.
Yeah.
There's experts in this room, there's things that people will catch that maybe perhaps I didn't catch. And I'm not talking
Bless
about
you.
the small semantics, I'm talking about the bigger pictures. Perhaps you didn't hear this, perhaps you didn't hear that. In my experience, what I heard today, maybe you didn't see that, I mean, just point in it, I hadn't even thought about communications with the mediator. So someone's gonna catch something that I perhaps, if I grade somebody a 10 because I missed a big chunk of something they said, for whatever reason, and somebody else caught it, and because we do this often, and you gave them and someone gave them a 5, I'd like to know why either I was way off, or perhaps that person may want to know why a difference of opinion. So that
you
goes
want
back to having
discussion, and how
a
do we do
discussion.
that?
So I would like to know,
If-
I don't want the selection to be based on just
We
the
got you.
rubric.
So thank you for that. I think where my mindset is, and I intend to submit it to the subcommittee, is a combination of the two. Because remember, one of the big factors here is that there have been a number of applicants already. Am I correct? Or is there?
There's been expressions of interest.
Yeah.
I
Right,
was gonna say, it just went out.
there's been a vast expression of interest. The list seems fairly large of groups that may want to do this.
Yeah, I'm just talking about
The
the-
rubric aspect was simply just a matter of how do we nail this or drill this down to a possible 3 that we then can have a discussion on. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I thought we had another.
And I, if I can, just
Yes,
add to
please.
that, then that's how, so say we get 10.
To get to the 3.
The 3 of us will narrow
So
it
it's not the
down.
rubric to,
And then what we would do, then the board will have those 3 here. And then, but I'm glad you brought this up, because I hadn't even thought about, I think we then talk about it. Because I think then it's about, it's a little more, how do we?
because last time we had
who clicks
another
with us?
rubric
How do
to
we get that?
discuss, to grade that each of the firms.
I agree.
No,
What-
I
then
wanted
we'll talk
the
about
back
that.
door.
That's
But
good.
let me, yeah, so I'm so glad we're all talking about this, because
Yeah.
what I didn't want to happen is all 3 of them come and then we go, okay, let's vote. And I'm going, wait a minute. I mean, even just a moment to digest what we've heard from the 3
I would
firms.
say we send them on, we talk, we pick, we tell them that.
Yeah,
But
okay.
we don't have them wait. We don't
We don't
not
have
like a
them
beauty
wait.
pageant or something. Like they're like,
Right, and we picked on the 15th. Is there, I know we
If
have
possible.
a timeline, but I don't know. We can pick on the 15th or we could pick on the 22nd.
I think
but
we
you
should
think we
shoot
just
the
pick
pick
right
on the
there?
Shoot.
15th.
I
And
would
I
say
think
shoot.
that I think that, I don't want to say, I just think these things, I think that we'll come get a consensus pick, I think.
Okay.
And I don't know who it's going to be. I mean, I don't have any preconceived notion, but
Just from a procedural standpoint, I would like them to present And then maybe just a quick break so I can write notes, because it's back to back, and you may know them, but for me, I'm going, okay, 1, 2, 3. I just want a moment to catch my thoughts, and then let's start the
I think that's
discussion
fair.
and do it. Because I think and then they can be on their way, but they'll probably,
Good.
it's a public meeting, so they can all really just sit there because they're gone, but the whole, the rest of the world is watching.
They can dial in.
But
They can dial
it
in.
will be a public meeting.
Yeah.
And if we're going to take a short recess,
Recess?
we need to make sure it appears that we are not going off
No.
down the
Yes.
hall
No.
together to
No.
talk.
That's right.
I mean, we
Well,
just need to be
I wouldn't
aware of
even
that.
put that out there. I would say we're all professional. We need to make sure that we follow open meetings.
Right.
laws.
That's
That's
it.
it. That's
Yeah.
it. I don't even.
I'll be fresh.
Yeah,
on
and
that.
they'll all be in the room at the same time? Or should we ask them to come in one by
Yeah.
one?
One by one.
Because they even shared it.
Yeah,
Where they're all
right.
comfortable
That-
going, well,
that
I've
was
never been in a room
absolutely-
when somebody else is presenting.
Yes.
One at a
Yeah,
time.
and
One
we
at
can
a
do
time.
So
that.
can
That
we have
that
them
was
in a
odd.
holding room, and then when they're done, we need to kind of let them leave?
So based
It is
on
a
this
little
conversation, the three of us can
Okay.
put that, a little agenda together, I think take all this into account and suggest it, and it'll run.
It'll be great.
right
Any,
along.
any more input? Yeah.
Yes, so we're JC-less, so who's gonna run the, who's actually gonna do that?
Well,
Right here.
now we'll have Dr. Roush, who's
Is he
gonna
gonna
be sort of
step in?
interim.
So he
Okay,
could help with us
So
too,
he can
yeah.
help, and of course we've
I
got.
was gonna say, why
we've
don't
got
we
Dr.
just leave it
Reimer
where it
and
needs to
Dr.
be,
Tombaugh
stay?
might
I-
be here. We've
to
got
be-
Mr. Tolles, he can help out.
Stop having,
Yeah, I mean,
Quite honestly,
we're gonna have a big old party, like 30 people.
Well, no, I just
I
wanna
think
make
it needs
sure
to
that-
rest where it should rest, and that's
Yeah.
what Dr.
I mean, I
Reimer-
get that, but I'm saying logistically, we didn't have keys to get in the door of the closet today, so I just wanted to know in the interim, who is running point for JC, so it'll be Dr. Roush, just, so to help you navigate, to make sure he has a point internally to help him get indoors and out and usher people. But that gives me a lot of clarity. I feel
Super,
good.
great.
Okay.
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 Anything else on, so we covered mediator, we covered RFP, we covered legal counsel, we didn't cover whatever this is.
We don't.
If we use a rubric and we take notes and score people, that becomes a public record?
No, only if you share it.
Only
Only
if
if
it's
it's shared.
shared. Only
Your
if it's
personal notes
shared.
are
Your
always your
personal
personal
notes are yours.
Maybe everyone should be.
Well, we should, and make sure council can advise us
Make sure
on that,
council will
so.
advise us on that.
We will have, so the RFP is laid out, there are 8 questions. I think you can see that those 8 questions are, I mean, really do align with.
I think the note's about a search warrant.
and they will put together
Anything
packages
else
that,
anyone's gonna care about.
that address all of
I want
those
to be
things.
above board, and I don't, and just so we know how the process rolls. That's all I have. Thank
Okay.
y'all. Thank you.
Is
Really
there
good.
anything else? The last thing I think we should probably do is set some more dates. Oh,
If you don't mind, Mr.
Professor Freilich, yes,
Sure.
sir.
And just so it's Froelich. I
Froelich.
apologize for.
That's all right.
No,
We're from
Froelich.
Northwest Ohio. It's Freilich up there. It's Freilich up
That's
there.
okay. I appreciate you.
Thanks
Anyway,
for telling.
it doesn't matter much. The spelling is more important. Otherwise, I don't get emails and things like that.
Thank you,
I
sir.
just want to commend you on having a collaborative conversation. That's all.
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
I like this guy.
we already started off well.
Already.
This
Okay,
is
come
what
on,
we
boss.
do, though, quite honestly.
Yeah.
Is there anything else before we get our calendars out? Let's set some more dates.
And these dates are for search. And
These
then, Don,
dates are
we'll come
for
back
search.
after
You
this.
can't say dates until you know when you get
Right,
your.
right. Can we?
Well,
We
Mike,
can set dates.
If we
I
don't
would
need
suggest,
them.
if we don't need them, we can cancel them.
Yes.
But we don't have to determine now what is going to be slotted on
Right,
any
but
given date.
I don't want to get to a point where we're ready to do something
So-
and 3 people are out of town.
So right now, we're holding the 22nd and the 29th.
You already have all of May set.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, can't we
well-
set dates either on the
set
15th or the
June.
22nd?
Let's set June.
Well, we
Let's
can,
set
let's
June.
set June and
Look at
then,
a few June ones. This is
Let's
good.
set
It's
June.
absolutely ridiculous.
We've been trying for 4 years to have a board retreat.
I think, should we be planning on board nights? Like, should we be looking at the 12th, first of all? Because that's the second Tuesday, so that would be one of those Tuesdays.
Yeah.
You know,
Innovation and reform. The
Oh,
last
that's
one.
right.
It's the last one
And
for
my
that.
other concern about doing it after a board meeting is we don't know how long the board meeting's gonna go, and we don't wanna be exhausted when we get here.
well,
Can we
if I
do the
can,
13th?
if I can,
Yes.
if we do the 22nd, if we get the RFP done,
Mhm.
the RFP, maybe we look at, I mean, if we think that RFP goes out, we should probably set aside if, like, at least
A day.
for presentations,
Uh-huh.
if it's not the 5th, that, I mean, that we would do the presentations, like, look at the week of the 11th.
Are you talking about for the search
For
firms?
June?
Oh, you gotta get them like 2
All right, so we
weeks.
do have
No, for
the
the search firms to
29th
come in
scheduled.
and present.
We have
Yes.
the
Well, because
29th.
like,
We have the 15th.
that whole first week
the
is
22nd,
graduations.
The
11th,
29th.
12th, 13th,
It was June 12th. Oh, that was
11th,
July.
the week of the 11th, the week of the 11th.
So June 11th.
And
So
I'm gonna
other than
involve-
innovation and reform, how long, is it a long meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, so we could do the 11th or the 13th,
11th,
Monday or
The
Wednesday.
13th is good for me, it's clear.
June 13th is good. But
Either
you're-
11 or 13.
We're on July
Let's go
13th.
No, June.
June.
I'm sorry, I
June
meant June, I'm
13th.
sorry. June 13th worked for everyone.
Yes.
Yes,
No, 13th?
yeah.
This is why we're doing this.
11th?
11th work for anyone?
Yeah.
11th works.
Michael,
11th.
that work for you, man?
I can make it work.
Make it
I can
work.
make 11 work.
Let's make it work, yeah.
Okay.
So June
So
11th?
June
Yeah.
11th, and do we anticipate we'll have RFP responses from search firms by then?
Well, I think that's what, I think we should, like, at least let's set, pencil it in, that's our marker.
Okay, that'll give them 2 weeks
Yeah.
to be responsive. That should be plenty. I mean, they
Sure.
already have these responses
How long did we
ready.
put it out the last time? That
It
is-
was very short. I sent you
was.
the RFP today. Do you have it?
You
I think it
sent
was
it,
2
we
weeks.
sent it, but
2
it
weeks.
doesn't say the date.
I think it was 2
I think it was 2 weeks.
It wasn't.
We'll
I
double check.
want to say it was 2 weeks.
It may have
Okay.
even been less than that. It
As
was
long as it's
aggressive.
after that week, I'm cool.
2
Okay,
weeks
so
is plenty.
let's say June
Yes.
11th, we'll be reviewing RFPs,
And here's
Yeah.
where,
responses.
and here's
Search
where I'm gonna
RFPs,
be.
yeah.
What time?
When are we getting them?
5:30.
Well,
So let us,
the three of you that are working on the
We're gonna have to work
RFP,
on that.
Yeah,
It could be
So,
something we
well,
can
that's
talk
why
about.
you
Maybe
need-
we could have a
this is where you
discussion
can use
of
him.
top 3
Yes.
then on the 11th. We could keep it like at a, at a weekish out of the 22nd. Say everything works out right. We have legal counsel on the 15th. We have then now the opportunity to look at the RFP and answer any questions and some other things that may be outstanding.
but let-
Goes out, hold on, Shauna, hold on. Goes out the 22nd.
yeah,
And that is, 1-2 full weeks. I mean, maybe we have a deadline of, 10 days, and then gives us some time to get back together and then, narrow it down to the top 3 and then tentatively be able to do that on the 11th and be able to pull the trigger on a superintendent search.
Getting it
firm.
going, because
June
they,
first.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
we just
then
need
just
to
roll.
have
And this-
our list that it's going
Okay.
to go to set so that it's ready
This
to go
is-
as soon as we,
Yeah,
It's-
on the 22nd.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have what we sent it to. I just want to make sure, because looking at the calendar, that is Memorial Day weekend.
What's
And
Memorial Day weekend?
the 25th, 26th, 27th.
It's okay, just hold it.
And we need them to respond.
Don't
They're
respond.
gonna respond.
I get it. And then the
Yeah.
next week is our graduation week. So if they get it back to us, are you saying by June 1? Is
I
what
mean, I
we're
think if
looking
it goes out the 22nd,
If you're gonna do that, it's
it
you say
won't go
June
out the
4th.
22nd.
It won't go out the 22nd.
23rd maybe or 4th.
yeah,
Fourth
23rd.
or fifth,
22nd.
fourth or
Yeah.
fifth.
It's going out over the
You're
holiday
gonna have to do the
weekend.
4th or
The
4th or
23rd.
To June 4th.
I would
Let us deal with those dates in there, but
Yeah,
I
do
think
we
there's
need 2
plenty
more
of
June
time.
dates for us? One more June date
yeah,
for
let's
us?
do
Let's do
2
another
more
one.
I'd
June.
love to.
2 more
Yeah.
June dates. Let's
Yeah.
do 2 more
It
June
may
dates.
be
I can give
after
you
the
the
week of the
18th.
4th.
I can give you the
Yes.
18th.
Okay.
June
18th
18th.
work for everyone?
June 18th is good.
June 18th, and what about another one for fun?
How about
What?
June 20?
25th.
And
After
for the
that,
professor?
out into
Hang
July.
on,
Oh,
let's
yeah.
make sure these
Professor?
work for Professor
That's why.
Froelich.
Oh,
Fine.
Okay.
What about the 25th? Let's just keep on the Monday thing.
I'm just telling you
She's
now,
gone
I am
from
out
June 20.
What's
after
your
the
gun?
20th to July 1st.
See, this is why we're doing this now. But good for you. Hope you're going somewhere fun.
Sounds fun.
Yes.
and that's for the July
So,
weekend.
so now we're into July, the first week of July.
So why don't we do
Wait,
after
till
the
the
20th?
first?
Say the 25th?
Let's do the 20th.
I'm from the 20th to the 1st. Is that
Are you
wait a
leaving the
minute.
20th?
Mr.
Oh, so
Treasurer,
I leave on the
Okay.
20th.
You have a
Treasurer?
tentative meeting already set for Friday, the 29th, by the way.
Yeah, and
Did
I'm
you know
out, by
that?
the
Not
way.
here. Moni's
Yeah.
not here.
I'm
Close
not-
the-
That's to
close the
close the
books.
books.
That's close the
I'm
books.
not here.
It's usually
That's-
very
And
short.
I'm not here.
That's like a lunch.
And that's at
meeting.
10 a.m.
I'm out of here.
I
So
know.
the
I have it
20th
at
to July
5:30.
1st.
Okay.
Can we make
On
it
Friday?
noon? Can we close it over lunch?
But not available on the 20th.
And then that way we can go back
Okay.
later.
20th
Yeah.
in the morning.
Yeah,
So
10
close the
a.m.
books.
I'm out of the
on the 29th is a meeting we already have set.
10 a.m.
Here.
I've got it
Moni's
wrong
not
time,
here.
but I know it's
Okay.
on that.
I'm available on the 2nd.
What about the 11th?
Yeah.
I'll be jet lagged, but I'll be here.
No, the week of the 4th,
Out.
no.
No.
Because I think
Tough
by then,
week.
I think the next, I would just say, I think probably after that, we're gonna be scheduling interviews. And so then it's about,
The 7th
you
is
know,
harmony.
setting to schedule the
So you think
interviews.
we're
So
okay
that's,
then?
the week of the 4th wouldn't work for, like, that'd be
So
tough.
can we go back to June? We have June,
I can't.
June 11th.
June 4, June 11. Is June 13th?
Wait, did you
good.
say June 4th? What's
No,
June
I
4th?
said
No,
at June
everybody said-
13th, I'm on a panel.
Right, she
Okay,
can't.
so
Then
we've
the
got-
18th.
We've got the 11th and the 18th set so far, 5:30 PM here.
And then,
Can we, is there anything else in June? Like, is this Wednesday, the 6th, or,
there's
No.
the 12th,
I can do the 14th.
No week of the 4th for me.
no week of the 4th?
June
Okay.
4th?
June
11th.
June 4th, no week.
I can
No,
do the
no.
14th.
We could do an 11,
Why do you
12
want
combo.
another meeting?
I mean,
I mean, just because we have 2 dates,
Just in
and
case.
just in case the firms can't make it on that one day
well,
that we have.
the 13th, the 14th, there's FAC, we could do it after
afterwards, it's
FAC.
fine. It's and for June, there's no big presentations except the monthly forecast.
Or
And maybe
14th
some
is
recommendations on
I'm
future
available on
personnel
the
budgets,
14th.
but not
14th
crazy.
is
Okay.
bad.
June 14th?
Oh,
Yes.
14th is so bad for
FAC.
me.
Is that for you?
That's fine with me. We'll make it.
14th is bad. I can't do
does
the
that
14th.
work for you, Professor
She can't.
Froelich? Wait a minute.
Is
Treasurer,
that 5:30 again?
I don't know that this impacts you, but on the 14th, there is a facility task force meeting.
In the morning.
that's in the morning.
That's in the morning. I can't do the
Okay,
14th.
well, I don't know who's putting stuff on my calendar then.
Shauna can't do the
I can't do the
14th.
14th.
Okay, no 14th.
So how about this?
Does the 12th
So
work?
the 12th is innovation and reform. If I move it to the 13th, can everybody do the 12th?
Yeah? Dom,
What?
Wait a
good on
minute.
the 12th?
Wait, Ramona Reyes can't do the 12th.
She can't do the 13th.
I can do tentative, let me get, it's work. You know, we do have jobs.
Right.
We do
I
have
used to
jobs.
have one.
I do have jobs. Actually, I have a couple jobs. So right now I have, you know what?
Yes, ma'am?
Yes, it's not my meeting.
Oh.
It's somebody
Okay.
else having a
If-
meeting at my.
If I
it's not
can
mine.
move
I can do the
innovation
12th.
and reform
That would be
to
awesome.
the 13th, we can have June 12th to
Oh.
hold, and if we don't need it,
5:30.
yeah.
Oh, that would be great,
we
Sean.
always
If you
have-
can move
okay.
that, that'd
And
be
then
cool.
it's 2 days
That would
back
be
to
awesome.
back.
I should be able to do that, yes.
So we got 11th, 12th, and 18th for June is tentatively set.
11,
So,
12, and 18.
I would,
Okay.
I would just say, like, you know, then if we're gonna interview, we could target like the week of the 9th,
You talking July now?
July.
July.
Mhm.
You talk about interviewing actual candidates
Oh.
for the superintendent position.
You
No,
know,
I'm thinking they coming in on the 11th and 12th, and on the 18th, we gonna meet with who we pick.
You mean the
That's the
candidates?
search firm.
No, the search firm.
Search
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no, the search firm.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm just
thinking-
talking
I
about
was talking about
candidates.
candidate, superintendent candidates.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the search firm.
I was thinking we'd have the
I had
search firm
11th and
picked,
12th,
but
yeah.
then we, you know.
Yeah.
I
But
think we should
she's talking
Oh.
about mid-July.
Oh,
It's-
no, we gotta wait until the search firm get here to talk about when their whole time frame and
Okay,
what
well
they're
then let's,
seeing.
you won't say
More
anything
realistic.
aside.
No, I was
Let's stop.
thinking,
Let's stop
Yes.
here.
okay,
yes.
just hold
we
these
made some
dates.
good.
I agree with you.
It's 8:44.
11th, 12th, and 18th of June, 5:30 PM.
Let me say,
each
People
day.
getting a little.
Dr. Reimer?
I would just say that I think it's actually more realistic that you'll be interviewing people probably into August, frankly. You know, you'll try not to, and you'll try to do it in July. I think and we'll try to look that way when we look at a calendar. We'll see how much, you know, how soon we can possibly do it. Because it'd be better if you could do it in July.
We,
But it might,
We're working
don't
on this
be,
July.
it might be August too.
yeah, we want to
Can't
be.
shut down July.
We want to be aggressive, but we want to be realistic, because we were
Yeah.
not necessarily realistic
Thank you.
last time. We
And
were
I
very
suspect
aggressive.
that when we get the calendar, you know, mock-up, that we'll be able to see some of this a little more clearly.
Yeah,
and then
I
you
think so.
And then the search
it
firm
can be
provides
adjusted, it'll
leadership.
just be a
Yeah.
rough that we think, okay, let's start with this, and what do you think?
But then we,
Okay.
I just told you.
yeah, lay it out.
But I think if we, I mean, if we have to knock it out in
One at a
July,
time.
you know, we knock it out in July, we can.
Yeah, I think if we have to meet in July, we have to meet in July, and I'll bring snacks if I need to.
I don't think we have a choice
Or,
this time.
you know,
It is flip-flops under the desk. I'm
that's
telling
okay.
you.
I do have, we've avoided some of my vacation stuff on this part already. I do have another vacation in July, at the end.
We all
It'll
do.
be the last week of July, I'll be out of town.
We all do.
Enjoy
Okay.
life.
We're not quite.
Is there anything else for the good of
Just
the order?
nothing for us
This
until
evening,
after Election Day.
colleagues?
No, sir.
November.
Is there a motion to
So moved.
adjourn? Is there a second, Mr. Treasurer?
What?
Would you call the roll? I'd like to adjourn the meeting now.
All right, don't put us on that.
Mr. Brown?
Sure.
Vice President Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Gibbs? Ms.
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Preddy?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Mrs. Baker?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you, you're adjourned. Thank you very
Done.
much.